All right, the topic now is the Toronto Blue Jays and the acquisition of R.A. Dickey, Cy Young winner in the National League. This guy's been putting up great numbers in the last 3 seasons. 38-year-old knuckleballer. You think that's a little too old and a little too high for the price they paid with that contract extension, an extra 3 years for $29 million. But if you think what he's done over the time, and knuckleballers usually have a better, longer life in baseball than, say, just more pure fastball pitchers or what have you. What can you say about this deal? Is it a smart move, especially the guys they gave up? They gave up 2 good prospects.
You know what? Prospects are coming and going. You never know. You could have the guy drafted first overall and he never swings a bat in the show. So Anthopoulos was on Sportsnet the other day after this all went down, and he said, you know what? It's a risk. We acknowledge that, but we've done our homework. We look at what Dickey's done over the last couple of years. You know, they do the physicals, they examine his throwing motion to kind of help predict injuries in the future, and they're confident on where it's going to go. And you know what, more so than what he may do, what he's already done is he's given them a #1 ace. I mean, he's coming in, he'll stand on the mound on opening day, put his Cy Young beside him, beside the rubber, and he'll start throwing. And that's big, to know that you have got a #1 solid pitcher to start your season. It is going to be huge for the Jays.
You look at the rotation now, it's pretty good. Probably the only suspect is probably in the bullpen, middle relief, and closer. But as for prospects, yeah, prospects and projecting is always a key thing. You always project these prospects are going to become stars in Major League Baseball. Sometimes those projections don't really work out for those players. Right now, all the moves the Jays have made, yeah, they should be right at the top of the American League East. So either all these deals are going to go through the roof for the Jays, or it could actually be a big bust.
What AA did and was really smart was stock up his minor league system. So whenever the opportunity arose, kind of like the whole deal with the Marlins, the deal recently here with the Mets, to get those big name players to come over here, referring to Toronto, and actually performing for them and potentially, you know, being World Series champions. Las Vegas has these guys, their odds as the heavy favorites to win the World Series. It's absolutely ridiculous. The Blue Jays, to see them where they were 2 months ago. But you want to talk about players that come in, especially that bullpen, middle relief. Do you see like a Drabek maybe fitting in that role?
Well, you know what? I think they got to leave Drabek as a starter. That's what he's been born and bred to do. I think now they've got an opportunity with what they have to bring Drabek back slowly from his injury. I mean, ease him in. We may not see him till after the All-Star break at the earliest. So, you know, maybe that's where they bring him in, just to stopgap things, you know, give him minimal innings coming in that role in the 5th, 6th, 7th inning. You know, we mentioned it earlier, is now what's the next thing? Is Jansen the guy that's going to be the closer, or are they going to go on a hunt to really find a big name that's going to lock things down for them?
I think they will probably go after a big name. Knowing how everything's gone the last few weeks or months here for the Jays, anything but a big name is out of the question. I think they definitely will go for a big name and look for a closer, you know, to finish off that great pitching staff they have right now.
Hamilton Ti-Caats fired George Cortez a week ago. Yesterday they hired Kent Austin as their new coach. A little foreshadowing. There was rumors that they wanted him obviously they wanted him last year, but then the rumors started speculating that he was available this year, and that's why they got rid of Cortez. Was Cortez given an unfair deal? He was like,
you know what? I don't think so, because they were expected to do better than they did. They were expected to be a top contender. I mean, he talked the talk like they were going to be, you know, they were going to be in the Grey Cup and they were going to compete and win it all. So, you know, am I surprised? No. Actually, my favorite part of this whole thing is that the Rough Rider fans are absolutely losing their minds that, you know, their golden god chose another team to come back to the CFL with.
Yeah, you know what? It doesn't go over well with Riderville. He left Saskatchewan after just 1 season, goes down to the States to Ole Miss, and then moves over to Cornell. You know, hats off to Ken Austin doing what he did down south and now coming up and taking over the Hamilton Ti-Caats. But they got rid of Cortez because Kent became available. That's the only reason why. It wasn't really what he did on the field. But their offense was one of the best in the league. Their defense was one of the worst in the league, and that's the reason why they had the season.
Yeah, but you think you'd get rid of the defensive coordinator, not necessarily your head coach. And he was supposed to be groomed for that GM position anyway, so it wouldn't have been hard to kind of bring him up as a GM and to replace Bob Vilovich and then you'd have Ken Austin as your head coach.
It almost looks like last season Cortez wasn't their first choice. Probably Ken Austin was their first choice. Instead, they settle for Cortez. Austin becomes available. Cortez is out, and Austin's in.
Anthony Calvillo returns for his 20th season. Hard to believe. This guy still keeps improving. He threw for over 30 touchdowns and over 5,000 yards last year. Over, under, guys, not our segment, but just for your sake. Do you think he could duplicate that again? 30-plus touchdowns, over 5,000 yards passing.
I'm going to say under, and the reason being it won't be Calvillo's fault. His receivers are getting older, and more importantly, his offensive line is starting to show signs of wear. I mean, that was their bread and butter during his heyday. It's a lot of the same guys, and they're slowing down. So I'm going to give him under, but just barely.
Yeah, I don't know. I say under too, because not just his receivers are getting old, not only his offensive line, but he's getting old too. But the great thing about Montreal, they set their offense around his abilities. So his abilities aren't the same that they were 5 years ago. As he lessens, still that offense sets around him. He had a great season last year.
I'll say this, though. He scored his first 2 rushing touchdowns in his career against the Saskatchewan Roughriders
don't bring
last
that up
season.
again.
So I don't know if he's showing any rust, but you know what, guys? We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll be back with more Gloves Are Off. Over Under coming up.